after watching that. You know, and if I was pissed off, I know all the fans are pissed off too. I'm talking about pissed off. I was pissed off too, like almost like I felt like I was insulted.
Canelo. Jesus Lord. Come on.
I have paid attention to Derrick James, right? I don't know if he can train Terrence Crawford before a fight.
The latest Fatal Fury card drop was nothing short of a disaster, and the experts and fans are in complete agreement, slamming it as pathetic and horrendous. Blasting the performances of Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, Tim Bradley didn't hold back his disappointment. He criticized both fighters for failing to deliver an entertaining bout, admitting he felt like he had wasted his time and energy watching what he described as a lackluster showdown.
Haney put on the Ryan put on the as well, but Haney was supposed to be going back to the drawing board, getting better. Did you think he got better? Absolutely not.
Mosley to the team, all that stuff.
Just because you add a Hall of Famer to your team don't make it's gonna make you better. I promise you that. Devin, yesterday, I felt like he didn't want to fight either with Ryan Garcia. The way he was fighting, how scared he was. PTSD is a real thing in fighting, in boxing. It's a real thing. And I felt that's what I saw with Devin, watching him run around the ring. Man, I was like, damn, I was like, did this dude, I said, did he train with Usain Bolt? Who the hell he trained with? I said, he running around this ring like he crazy. I'm like, yo, settle your feet down, bro, and grow some balls, man. Grow some balls and stand there and jab and make sure to back this guy up off of you. But nah, man, like, look, I take so much, bro. I was so angry after watching that, bro. I wasted my time watching that last night.
Tim Bradley expressed his frustration, stating that watching each fighter in the ring felt like an insult to him. In a furious reaction, he pointed out that neither fighter truly brought their best to the bout and went on to assert that he was deeply disappointed by the entire event.
Last night after watching that, I felt like I was insulted. You know, I was disappointed in each guy's performance, man. I was so disappointed. I thought all of them was whack. All of them. Every last one of them. I didn't see no hunger in these dudes, man. No hunger. Only there for the money.
Expressing his disappointment, Oscar De La Hoya said he was disturbed by the fact that not a single fight on the Fatal Fury card ended in a knockout. He added that he genuinely feels sorry for Turki Al Sheikh, who puts in tremendous effort to promote these events, only for the fighters to fail to deliver in the ring.
Disrupting my vacation, because I just have to speak on the 11 fights that I just saw with no knockouts. I mean, look, let's give credit where it's due. I think Rollies, congratulations. You came out and fought. Had a great win. I'm happy for you. Really am. You're a nice kid. Teofimo was the only one that probably came out and tried to entertain the fans with what he had to work with, you know? And I feel bad for Turki. I really do. He's paying all this money to the fighters, okay? To turn out, to show up and fight and give the fight fans what the fans deserve. And those are great fights. Show up.
Oscar De La Hoya also took aim at Devin Haney, accusing him of constantly running around the ring. He claimed that Ramirez had Haney tangled up throughout the fight and went as far as to say Haney was running for his life. De La Hoya didn't hold back, boldly stating that Haney is done for now in his boxing career.
Not just dancing around like Bill Haney and Devin Haney. I mean, my gosh, he was tagged a couple of times by Ramirez and he just gets on his bicycle and just starts running for his life. Jesus.
Weighing in on Devin Haney's performance, Showbiz the Adult didn't mince words, criticizing Haney by saying he barely made it through 12 rounds. Drawing comparisons to Shakur Stevenson's bout with De Los Santos, he claimed Haney delivered one of the most disappointing and boring performances of his career.
Let me put this in perspective. When you compare the CompuBox numbers between Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez and Shakur Stevenson versus De Los Santos, there's only a difference of 5 punches landed between those two fights. Take a look. The only difference is 5 punches landed.
Showbiz the Adult highlighted that Devin Haney landed only 5 more punches than Shakur Stevenson did against De Los Santos, despite Haney having the advantage of using both hands, while Stevenson fought one-handed. He didn't stop there, also delivering heavy criticism toward Jose Ramirez, suggesting that neither fighter lived up to expectations in what turned out to be a lackluster performance from both sides.
Devin Haney had both of his healthy hands. and only landed 5 more punches than a one-handed Shakur Stevenson in the most boring fight ever against De Los Santos. Now that is a huge accomplishment in the wrong direction, all right? With that said, I'm gonna say the same thing that I said about the Shakur Stevenson-De Los Santos fight. I have a huge criticism towards Jose Ramirez.
Showbiz the Adult criticized the bout between Rolly Romero and Ryan Garcia, specifically calling out Garcia for a poor performance. Breaking it down in his analysis, he pointed to Garcia's over-reliance on his bow and arrow technique as a major hurdle that limited his effectiveness. On the other side, Showbiz dissected Rolly's strategy, highlighting the key factors that ultimately led to his victory.
And I got a message to the fanboys after this, but listen to this. Just like I talked about Devin Haney, bow and arrow effect, I brought it up all day long because even though Devin Haney was accusing of Ryan Garcia for intentionally taking PEDs to be victorious in their fight, right? I said, well, take the responsibility of what you can do to make the appropriate changes, and I brought up the bow and arrow effect. And we did this all day long. I got one for Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia, I've been begging you for years, bruh, to not lean back and put those hands out like this here.
Reacting to Ryan Garcia's loss, Sean Porter took a sharp jab at Derrick James, questioning how James plans to train someone like Terrence Crawford next. Porter criticized James for lacking the ability to truly understand and adapt to a fighter's natural abilities, labeling him a robotic trainer based on what he observed throughout his own career.
I have paid attention to Derrick James, right? I don't know if he can train Terrence Crawford before a fight.
Meanwhile, Ryan Garcia's trainer, Derrick James, shared his concerns about Garcia's mindset leading up to the fight, particularly as he was making his way to the ring. James noted that even during the entrance, there were signs that something wasn't right, hinting at a lack of focus or mental readiness before the first bell rang.
The walk entrance, you came up in the car. Now the question is, what was the warm-up before the fight? Getting into, you know what I mean? Was at the hotel you guys warming up?
Yeah, it was at the hotel.
I mean, how long did it take from the hotel to get into the arena? I mean, to make
It was kind of like, it really didn't make sense because like one of my big concerns was going to ice him down, right?
Exactly.
Going to cool him out. I talked to him about it. There's too much time in between us working out. You're supposed to stay fresh.
Yeah, because you have to warm up.
I'm not saying that's the reason. I'm just saying that that's like they icing you out. It's too much. So yeah, I mean, well, you can go ahead and answer, but I talked to him about it. Even before I said we got to get this, we got to get it going because
I didn't know. I thought it was closer to the arena than because I didn't really watch the entrances and how long it was taking. I was just kind of watching the fights, but I was like, damn, I'm in this Batmobile forever. It was like, and like the gas smelled crazy in that vehicle. I was just like, damn, it's taking forever, but I wouldn't say that.
Amidst all the backlash, Tim Bradley voiced his frustration over the overall performances on the Fatal Fury card. In his view, not a single fighter delivered their best in the ring, labeling the entire lineup of fights as completely boring and uninspired.
I was pissed off after watching that. You know, and if I was pissed off, I know all the fans are pissed off too. I'm talking about pissed off. I was pissed off too, like almost like I felt like I was insulted.
Trainer Joel Diaz also criticized several fighters, including Canelo, for delivering lackluster performances. He was particularly critical of Ryan Garcia for throwing too few punches in his fight and didn't hold back in calling out other participants for what he saw as underwhelming showings in the ring.
The first was Haney, second was Ryan, and the third was Canelo. I mean, Teofimo and Barboza, I mean, I knew that was going to happen. I mean, Teofimo will not engage, but he's there, But, I mean, if I go from Haney and Ramirez not landing one punch in certain rounds, I mean, that's ridiculous, Canelo as well. Come on, I mean, he's getting paid those millions of dollars. I mean, I understand, this guy doesn't want to engage, but there's Mexican fighters. Mexican, if you call yourself Mexican, they will go for the attack and close the gap. I will tell my fighter, go in there. Even if he's running, get in his chest. Marco Maidana did it, and he's not Mexican against Floyd Mayweather.
He asserted asserted that there were better ways to approach the fight, but Canelo appeared too relaxed in the ring, which left many in the boxing world disappointed.
I mean, so there is ways. Canelo was just too relaxed. He didn't want to go and play for the attack, but he has his reasons.
Another highly hyped bout on the card, Canelo versus William Skull, turned out to be one of the most boring fights of the night. Oscar De La Hoya blasted Canelo for the matchup, pointing out the irony in Canelo's past criticism of runner fighters, while he himself chose an opponent who did nothing but run around the ring. De La Hoya emphasized that it's time for Canelo to face David Benavidez, a fighter who doesn't run.
Canelo, Jesus Lord. Come on. You're getting paid all this money to fight against a runner who we all knew was gonna run, a Cuban style. You chose him, and now you say you hate fighting runners? Well then, don't fight runners. We all know who we want to see you win against. That's Benavidez. Go up against Benavidez. Fight Benavidez, he won't run. What's wrong with that? It's a good fight. But it's sad. It really is. You know, it starts from the top too. I mean, when you're fighting for the money and not legacy, every young fighter just follows that pattern. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the organizers, the people putting up the money, the promoters, you know. The fans especially. The fans want to see good fights.
Criticizing the fight card, Paulie Malignaggi remarked that while the matchups looked solid on paper, the overall performances turned the event into a complete dud. He emphasized that despite the potential, the lackluster execution left fans thoroughly disappointed.
Times Square card for Ring Magazine or Ring Promotions, whatever it's called, is over. A little bit of a dud card, but again, it's not one of those cards that you can really criticize afterwards. Because going in, the matchups looked legit. You know, it's not one of those things where, like tomorrow, for example, I could really care less about the main event with Canelo and Skull because on paper it's and the fight probably will. But this card ended up, but it really. You can't, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles, you know?
Paulie Malignaggi shared his thoughts on the Arnold Barboza Jr. versus Teofimo Lopez fight, noting that it fell short of expectations. He pointed out that Barboza, despite having been tested multiple times in his career, struggled to take control against Teofimo. At the same time, he criticized Lopez for failing to secure a stoppage.
Arnold Barboza had been a guy who had always been good the whole time, but had never wowed anybody. So he kind of put him on the back burner unfairly. He was a solid fighter, world-class fighter. I didn't think it was one of those situations where you had to, you know, kiss up to Teo the way the commentators were kissing up to him. I thought Teo looked good. But I also thought it was a fight where neither guy got out of the third gear at most. You know, it took on a sparring session mentality where Teo started winning it just on talent, and Arnold never really pushed the pace more. He tried to put Teofimo in bad positions. He tried to play the position game where he was trying to control the center of the ring and keep Teo moving, and he figured maybe with that kind of pressure, eventually Teo might break or Teo might make a mistake. Teo's athleticism allowed him to always find the spaces to move, and also not just find the spaces to move, but find the openings to punch off those spaces as well. And so when that wasn't working for Barboza, who was trying to play the technical game, you got to start to push yourself a little bit more. You say, okay, at first you say, okay, I'm just going to keep at this. I may not be winning the early rounds, but eventually I'm going to break him by consistently taking away the space from him. Once that doesn't work, you got to start taking chances. Barboza never took chances. Teo, being superior, also never pushed it more because, again, when you're at the level of Teofimo Lopez and people expect more, sometimes you want to maybe push yourself a little bit more and try to go for the stoppage. He never went for the stoppage.
Paulie Malignaggi also weighed in on the Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero fight, suggesting that Garcia may not yet be fully clean from PEDs. He hinted that it showed in his performance, pointing out how Rolly was able to drop him while Garcia failed to respond with the intensity or skill expected of him. According to Paulie, Garcia didn't fight anywhere near his true caliber.
So, you know, Romero had been coming in with no momentum really, and he was chosen sort of as a sort of a dead duck, sacrificial lamb for Ryan's return, you know? There was that footage online, though, with that sparring, and there was a little bit of footage there, and it gave you a little bit of curiosity, right? But you're thinking, all right, you know, that was many years ago, who knows what happens now. I tell you what, there must be some PTSD there as well, because once Rolly dropped Ryan stopped trying. Ryan stopped trying, and that's the biggest criticism there. It's, are you a Hollywood fighter? You know, why didn't you even go for it. Because at the end of the fight, although the fight was very one-sided, two schmuck judges actually had the fight within 3 points for Ryan Garcia, 115-112 for Rolly, which means they were trying all that they could to give Ryan the fight, but Ryan tried so little, threw barely any punches, that they couldn't even rob Rolly. But you could see they were trying to rob Rolly.
Meanwhile, reacting to the Canelo versus William Skull fight, Carl Froch didn't hold back his disappointment, calling the bout a total waste of time. He admitted he was nearly falling asleep during the fight due to how dull and uneventful it was. Froch criticized Canelo for choosing an opponent who spent most of the time running around the ring.
How he won that and how he's got in that ring last night and just danced around the ring. I mean, let's get into the fight. It was a boring fight. I won't be rewatching it. Anybody who was still awake by the final bell, they must have been full of energy, because I was half asleep. I mean, I can't blame Canelo Alvarez for getting in there. Canelo Alvarez got nothing to prove. He's done everything in the game. He's fought everybody. He's been beaten, okay, a couple of times, lost to Floyd Mayweather. He's got a loss to Bivol, but he is one of the best to do it. Over 60-odd fights, worth an absolute fortune, getting paid a fortune as well. But that's doesn't make him obligated to go in there and put a show on. If he can't be bothered with William Skull running around the ring.
Carl Froch went on to slam William Skull, accusing him of not even trying to win the fight. He also suggested that Canelo seemed motivated purely by a hefty payday rather than putting on a meaningful performance. Froch criticized both fighters for traveling all the way to Saudi Arabia, far from their home regions, only to deliver such a dull and uninspired showing in the ring.
Just trying to nick a decision, I don't even know if he was trying to nick a decision. What was William Skull doing? He turned up with zero motivation. He didn't even attempt to try and win a round. And Canelo Alvarez must have just thought to himself, great, easy night's work, easy payday. But for William Skull to get in there and just dance and jab and move and keep out of the way and put everybody to sleep, I'd be embarrassed. It's not good for boxing. It's not a good look. He's out in Saudi. They're trying to promote the show. The atmosphere obviously is not very good out there. It's still quiet, but if there's a bad fight like that in Britain, the atmosphere is crap as well, because nobody's interested in the fight. Nobody's getting engaged. So I just think Canelo's turned up to the fight. William Skull's running away from him, not engaging, keeping out of the way, which Canelo touched on after the fight. Said, I don't like fighters like that just come and move and don't show any ambition or don't try and win. And Canelo's at the stage of his career where he's just thinking to himself, you know what, why should I go forward? Why should I take a few chances and a few risks when I can walk into an elbow or a head or maybe get a cut or something can go wrong?
Carl Froch emphasized that William Skull squandered an incredible once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to make a name for himself. He criticized Skull's lackluster performance, saying it was a poor showing in a moment that could have defined his career. Froch recalled how he had previously discussed a potential fight with Canelo nearly a decade ago, and asserted that if it had been him in Skull's position, he would have given everything to capitalize on such a massive stage.
And to be honest, watching that as a former unified super middleweight world boxing champion and Hall of Famer, I was very, very disappointed. I was thinking to myself, what an opportunity you've got there. If I was fighting still 10 years ago, if that opportunity came up for me, I know Canelo Alvarez is going to be a tough fight for anybody. I know it's a long ask trying to beat a guy like that, but come on. As a former champ, I like to think if I'm in there with Canelo for whatever amount of money, there's going to come a point where I'm saying, right, I'm going for it now. Probably around 3 or 4, I'm going to stick it on him and have a go. And to be given an opportunity like that, Skull defending his IBF title and potentially becoming undisputed super middleweight champion, to go in there and just perform like that, for me, it's not acceptable. And I think in my day and with my mindset and the way I used to fight, I'd have gone for it.
Sharing their thoughts on what many are calling one of the biggest disasters of the Fatal Fury card, Ryan Garcia's loss to Rolly Romero, Gareth A. Davies said the outcome didn't surprise him, as he had anticipated it. Supporting that view, Spencer added that Garcia's performance was far from impressive, noting that the one-year layoff clearly played a role, something even Garcia himself has acknowledged.
A-side names last night. Ryan Garcia losing, we kind of suggested in the build-up to that, when you create semi-finals, there's always a tendency for boxing to create the upsets. And Ryan Garcia was dropped by Ronaldo Romero in round 2 and ultimately beaten very convincingly on points last night. 115-112 twice, 118-109, which was a little bit wide. It was a welterweight bout. Romero very impressive. but Ryan Garcia, not impressive at all. And he admitted something went wrong and he just didn't turn up.
Listen, it was a lackluster performance for sure. Inactivity's played a part in that. You know, he with his banned from the sport, he was out for over a year, and you could see that sometimes when a fighter turns up, it's just like he's walking through treacle. The timing's just out, the distance is not right. He got dropped, as you say, with that left hook in the second round, and it just wasn't his night.
Moving on, both analysts discussed how not only Ryan Garcia's performance, but also Devin Haney's fell short of expectations. They noted that neither fighter truly showcased their skill set in the ring, failing to deliver the level of talent and intensity fans were hoping to see.
I thought it was a very poor performance by Garcia with a lot on the table. We've got Devin Haney fighting as well, and that fight being set up for that rematch after that controversial decision last time out, the no contest. You go, he had to perform, Garcia, and he didn't. You know, taking nothing away from Rolly Romeo, who performed. You know, it was not a great spectacle.
It was a boring bout. Let's be honest about it.
But he done enough to win the fight.
We're going to come to Garcia and Haney in a moment, obviously, because this, as you say, was almost a setup, not a setup, because that's the wrong word. I don't mean the semantics to be wrong on that, but it was set up as two semi-finals for them to meet, as you say, the controversial no contest last year, where Garcia didn't make weight. He tested positive for 2 different drugs. He was banned for a year. This was his first fight back. And Haney wanted a revenge, and he's created a civil lawsuit against him. Whether that'll go ahead, we don't know, for grievous bodily harm, because he says that those drugs that Garcia took will affect him forever. And maybe, and this is what I want to come to and get your opinion, Devin Haney defeated Jose Carlos Ramirez via unanimous decision, shut out again in many ways, but a very odd bout in which first time for Haney at 147. He never really settled. He was bouncing on his feet the whole time. Never really planted his feet. Ramirez tried his best, but they are different levels.
Spencer Oliver and Gareth A. Davies pointed out that Devin Haney seemed to completely abandon his usual boxing skills, spending most of the fight on the move, even to the point of looking hesitant and disengaged. They highlighted how his punch output was shockingly low, making his performance one of the least active they've seen from him in the ring.
But Haney never sat down on his punches very much, and the count, the output, the counting of punches, one of the lowest we've ever seen in a big name fight.
Very negative performance by Devin Haney, and that clearly had the effects of that fight with Ryan Garcia, where you saw him there. He was very negative, didn't want to commit, didn't want to sit still in the pocket at all with Ramirez. And I know tactically it would have been better for him to keep that space, but we've seen him in the past where he's had to stand there and trade with the likes of Lomachenko in that 12th round when they're going toe to toe. So we know that he can do it, but he would not do it. And I'll tell you why, because of the devastating defeat that he had at the hands of Ryan Garcia, who had them performance-enhancing drugs in him. That's what happens. That lawsuit, I can understand why they're going for that, because it's clearly affected the kid, and, you know, mentally anyway.
It's unprecedented in boxing to see that kind of thing. So you are convinced, and this is what was going through my mind as I watched it at whatever it was, 2:30 in the morning, that it was in our time, that here is a man who is feeling his way into 10 stone 7. I thought he's starting, he's using the entire ring, he's circling, but he never stopped moving away. He never really engaged. And we know that he's a great counterpuncher. We know that he's very fast-handed. He has rapid hands. But for me, he didn't look right at welterweight. His best work so far has been at lightweight, as far as I'm concerned.
He's a box fighter. Last night he was a boxer. He was running away. You know, he covered a lot of distance.
At the same time, Ade Oladipo didn't hold back in his criticism of the 3 main fights on the Fatal Fury card, stating that none of them came close to meeting expectations. He expressed particular disappointment over Arnold Barboza Jr.'s loss, asserting that Barboza had a real opportunity to make a statement, but ultimately let it slip through his fingers.
All 3 main events were flat for me. All 3 main events were flat, and that has to go solely on the feet of the fighters. It's their responsibility to kind of really amp this up a little bit. I was so disappointed with Arnold Barboza. This is a person that's been waiting for an opportunity. This is someone that in the lead up to it promised quite a lot and didn't deliver. And look, he might just be a case of Tio's that much better than him and showed it on the night. But sometimes you just gotta, I hate the phrase going out on your shield, but sometimes you just gotta fucking go for it. This is a world title opportunity. The event was so different and spectacular that all eyeballs are on you. This is everything you've waited for. This is the moment, since you first put on the gloves, this is your moment. World title opportunity against a big name in this unique, different setting.
Meanwhile, Ade Oladipo remarked that he and Ariel Helwani were initially pleased to see Ryan Garcia appearing more focused and content in the lead up to the fight, but what unfolded in the ring was nothing short of a disaster. In Oladipo's view, Garcia went from looking like he was at 100% to delivering a performance that hit rock bottom, showing little effort to put on a strong display against an opponent like Rolly Romero.
You know, me and Ariel have been sort of going back and forth about Ryan. Ariel was happy that this Ryan now has calmed down, he's more content, he looks fully focused, and I'm like, no. You need to see a bit more of a mad Ryan. Like, you know, and this isn't just for Ryan, but there are some athletes who you have to accept the bad to get the good. You know, I don't know if you guys are basketball fans. Dennis Rodman. It's almost like you can't control Dennis Rodman. You've just got to accept who he is. Like, you try and change Dennis Rodman, you remove a little something from him. Draymond Green's another one. Again, I don't know if you guys are NBA fans, plays for a team called the Golden State Warriors. He's crazy, but then you get the best Draymond. You try and calm that down, you're gonna get nothing. And I needed to see in the lead up to this, a crazy Ryan. Not crazy like he was when he fought Devin Haney last year, but something like that. Like, he's literally gone from 100 to 0.
Ade Oladipo also shared his thoughts on the fight between Jose Ramirez and Devin Haney, stressing that both fighters delivered underwhelming performances. He noted that Haney appeared mentally absent in the ring, likely due to the impact of a year-long layoff. Ade further criticized the entire Fatal Fury card, pointing out that all three main events suffered from a noticeably low punch output, making for a disappointingly lackluster night of boxing.
It's one of the lowest, like in terms of those three fights combined, the lowest punch output like they've seen in like three main events, if you like. And that's Haney, Ramirez. Ramirez was awful. So it's weird because I haven't given Haney much love, but Ramirez was awful. Haney got the job done, right? Haney's getting a lot of stick. Haney's coming off a year-long layoff, and the last time out, he fought someone that had PDs in his system. Let's give Haney some credit for a second. Mentally, he still looks a bit off for me. Physically looks great, didn't really want to land, so didn't really want to throw for fear of what's coming back. And that's something he's gonna have to get over. That would only come in time. Sometimes it never comes back, by the way. But I think he'll be okay. I think that will come in time. I like Haney. I'm not one of those Haney haters. I don't understand why he gets hate.
Reflecting on the outcome of the Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia fight, Jeff Mayweather expressed no surprise at all. He revealed that he had anticipated this exact result, firmly believing that Rolly had the puncher's chance to turn the tide, and that's precisely what unfolded, just as he had predicted.
No, I wasn't really surprised about either outcome. I thought that Rolly, if anyone, had a chance of probably getting beat, was probably Rolly, and I think everybody thought that. But at the same time, I always said that he has a puncher's chance, no matter what, and that's exactly what happened.
Sharing his thoughts on Ryan Garcia's future, Jeff Mayweather criticized him for a pattern of calling out fighters he has little chance of beating, saying this has become a recurring habit. He questioned Garcia's approach to matchmaking and focus. On a more positive note, Jeff expressed interest in a potential matchup between Rolly Romero and Devin Haney, calling it a bout he'd genuinely like to see.
I think Ryan's going to go another route. He's going to start calling out people again, and names that he really can't beat for sure. Because, that's what he does, but I just think that I would like to see Rolly and Devin go at it, but at the same time, they're not in the same weight class. So, Rolly right now is in a good position to fight whoever he wants to. And I think if I was him, I wouldn't do no rematch.
nobody's going to care about that fight again.
Right.
I can't see nobody getting excited about that fight again. I mean, don't get me wrong. The right guy won, but the fight itself wasn't that great. I mean, both of them didn't throw that many punches.
And there you have it, a night that promised fireworks but delivered fizzle. From underwhelming performances to missed opportunities, the Fatal Fury card left fans and experts shaking their heads. Whether it was Canelo sleepwalking through Skull, Haney and Ramirez putting the crowd to sleep, or Ryan Garcia falling flat, this card might go down as one of boxing's biggest letdowns in recent memory. If you feel the pain too, hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got a lot more real talk coming your way. See you in the next video.